So welcome to the Human Consciousness Support New Health Paradigm weekly-ish call. We had to have a special guest speaker today. What I like to do is I like to invite. All right, it's not like it's been a long-standing habit. It's something that I'd like to do moving forward, and I've been able to accomplish a couple times now. But invite guest speakers, and I guess guest speaker is even a little bit too much because I don't want them to feel on the spot, but just special guests that have specialty areas perhaps and things that I believe we could benefit from, that have platforms even that I can send people to for extra support in different ways. Doc Smith, the call we had with him a month ago was a big hit. I am, by the way, editing that. I'm going to get that out very soon. And he had a lot of people contacting him, so much so that I think he was full up on his schedule for the research that program that he was offering to us free of charge. So could be little benefits that come along the way. You know, if you take part in these, you never know what you're gonna. And really, we don't ever know who's gonna show up.
Has anyone studied how it raises their pH, the MasterPeace?
No, we haven't studied that specifically. If MasterPeace raises pH,
Yeah.
you're taking such little of the drops throughout the day that, and I know why you're asking that because the pH of the marine plasma is pretty high. And Robert Young talks about pH quite a bit. So my first answer would be to expect that little bit. Really, we're talking about 10 drops to raise the pH. And I have to ask you, what are you asking? Raising what? The blood, the different areas, the interstitial fluid. So when people say raised pH, I have to ask, what part of the body are you asking?
Interstitial fluid. We test our urine daily.
Okay, so you test your urine. So no, I don't believe Robert would be the one to see if he's done any testing on that because he's the one who has done that for a very long time. Matt Senna, do you have any response just coming from the team first before we go to Martin?
Well, Robert has described the urine as a synthesis of the interstitial fluid, so I understand what he's saying about that.
Mhm. But have we done any testing?
No, we haven't done that testing. You're correct.
Yeah. So the answer would be no for the testing. We haven't done that. No. Martin, did you want to talk about that or pH or jump in there?
Well, I can talk a bit.
Hold on a second. Let me introduce you. Let's do that. So Martin Pytela is our guest tonight. And we as a company, myself and Matthew, a few months ago, did do an interview or two with Martin. And he has a magnificent website, very chock full of information. I'm just going to go to it right now and just give a little bit of his bio. He's the founder and CEO of I think Life Enthusiasts, correct me if I'm wrong, Martin Pytela, CMTA, which is a certified metabolic typing advisor. He's also a health coach based on metabolic typing. It's a method that helps determine which foods and supplements will be the most appropriate for you. And he has a website that has a lot of interesting products on it. So I've kind of get lost in his website sometimes. So, and we're going to refer to some of that. I'm going to allow him to talk about some of the things that he offers there. So this is Martin, and we have been in touch as a company with him for a few months now. And Martin, take it away with that particular question, please.
Right on. So the reason you see me here, rather than at some corporate presentation dealing with information technology, is because at 25 years of age, I got loaded with mercury in a dentist's office. I was a naive young man who trusted professionals, and that gave me 12 new mercury amalgam fillings. And wouldn't you know it, in the next 5 to 7 years, I was going downhill. By the time I was 36, I had major health problems. My original schooling was as a systems analyst, business administration, and computer science. So I actually understand how to do research, and I understand how to take things apart from a data perspective and put it back together. So at 36, I had a meeting with myself where it was determined that I was on the wrong path, that I was not going to be helped by the mainstream doctors, chiropractors, naturopaths, and therapists that were addressing all the symptoms that I was showing up with. My symptom set was mainly back pain, losing my adjustment, and then shooting pains here and there, periodontal problems, and weight gain, and allergic reactions, and all kinds of stuff. And that's where this thing becomes interesting. In that meeting, it was determined that I was going to have to become a researcher and figure it out myself. And so over the next 6 years, while I was still working in the information technology, I figured out that all of these professionals were schooled in focusing on symptoms rather than on their causes. And this is the illness of this society, not just in the medical world. We seem to be focused on symptoms. What is the presenting problem? And we try to tweak that. So if you have a toothache, you go to a dentist who's dealing with the toothache without asking, well, how did we get here? So if you have a headache, why do you have a headache? Is it caused by the deficiency in Tylenol? Is your breast cancer caused by the deficiency in, I don't know what, let's name it, some kind of a drug that they give you for breast cancer? It's not. So the root cause resolution is what really needs to be done, but that doesn't work well for the pharmaceutical model. These folks have created a wonderful gravy train for themselves by schooling everyone, the entire society, in thinking about silver bullets, finding the one thing that's going to tweak the thing and take it away. And they like to name illnesses by geography instead of by what caused it. So you end up with a thing called fibromyalgia because you have fibers in your muscles, myalgia being muscle and algia being pain. So you have fiber, muscle, pain, right? If you have blepharitis, well, that's an inflammation of the eyelid, right? Well, how did you get it? Anyway, they like to speak in Greek and Latin, and so every time there's something like itis or otis in the end of the name of it, that's an inflammation. An inflammation is one of the important processes in the body. Inflammation is there to help the body rebuild itself. Like, for example, if you twist your ankle, you will experience swelling, redness, heat, pain, and loss of function. All of those are there to protect you from standing on that ankle, to give you an idea that you should not use it and allow it to heal itself. The heat is there to speed things up. The pain is there to remind you to not step on it. The swelling is there because a lot of cells got broken and a lot of fluids are flooding into the area in order to bring nutrients in and building materials and put it back together. And the redness, that's the consequence. So when you do this sort of a thing inside your body by eating the wrong thing, it's like having 1,000 or maybe 1,000,000 of tiny little twisted ankles. It's like tiny little pins and hammers hitting you in every cell. So when you see a belly that's nice and flat in the morning and swelling up with the day, swells with the breakfast some, with the lunch some more, and dinner, you're looking 7 months pregnant. Well, that's the swelling of the spilling of the fluids, and you're probably hurting, and you have an inflammatory process going on there. So when you understand how you trigger the inflammatory process, you're halfway there. If you can stop it or prevent it, it will never happen. The truth is that most chronic inflammatory degenerative illness, which includes all of the popular stuff other than bullet wounds and car accidents, is metabolic in nature. So it's really interesting in that perspective. So every plant has an effect. Everything you ingest has an effect. And it is either temporary or permanent, depending on what happens. And the permanent stuff happens mainly with the industrial toxins. The industrial toxins arrived in about 1770s and have been adding onto itself. We get more and more stuff in the air, in the water, and in our clothing and in our food and so on, right? Like the first coal burning, and then the petroleum burning, and then the electromagnetics, and then the chemical industry got going, and then the agricultural industry, and now the chemical industry is onto it. And we're just piling on more and more stuff into the environment, which then means that you're getting more toxic yourself personally living later. So it's causing the children born recently, the 20-year-olds, to live in a much more toxic world. So their path is accelerating at a higher speed than my stuff. I was born in the 50s. And my parents lived comfortably into their 90s, not that toxic.
Mhm.
Not me. I was toxic from age 25 in a bad way. Anyway, the toxicity has a lot to do with MasterPeace and why we're here. Now, I finally want to get to the pH. Sorry to be so long-winded, which is this. I'm trained as a CMTA, Metabolic Typing Advisor, and the thing in that is that we are able to predict through your genetics or through how your body responds, how you're going to respond to certain specific foods. And in a manner similar to this, we have some right-handed people and some left-handed people. You cannot have a right-handed guitar played successfully by a left-handed guy. It's just not going to work. We have also this difference in how we respond to foods. It's called metabolic type, and you're either dominant by the autonomic system or by the oxidative system. So the oxidative systems are called oxidizers, and the autonomic systems are called autonomics. And each of those is like a seesaw, like something that has a fulcrum, a balance point, and you can go either up or down with either side. And with the oxidizing, we call it slow oxidizer, fast oxidizer. With the autonomic, we call it sympathetic and parasympathetic. Depending on what's dominant, you get different reactions. And it goes like this. An autonomic is made more alkaline by carbohydrates and is acidified by fats and proteins. An oxidizer is reversed. He's alkalized by fats and proteins, and he's more acidified by carbohydrates. That also goes with minerals. If you're a one type, magnesium makes you more alkaline. If you're the other type, it makes you more acidic. It's just crazy making.
If I can ask you, I
Yeah,
don't want to interrupt. I'd like to know, like, so, we're all obviously have all the same parts, and I understand that there are differences for sure, obviously. But in this particular case, what is it that would, what mechanism there of, and from the time you ingest a food to the time that it is metabolized, what is the mechanism that, which one is more dominant? I guess I'm not really sure how to ask the question, that would turn the interstitial fluid or the blood. I'm not sure. Well, it wouldn't be the blood, it would be the interstitial fluid, more alkaline or acid just by food. I have no idea what that would be.
Yeah, I can tell you that we know it happens. We know how it happens, and I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. That's a great question.
Fair
I
enough.
can only assure you that when I encounter a fast oxidizer and feed them too much starch, they will become highly agitated and argumentative and really pissy very quickly, all the way to road rage if I keep on feeding them carbs. And you can see that at a party. Just go to some cocktail party and watch people. You need to see some alcohol or sugared drinks to be served, and you watch. Oxidizers are going to be getting louder and more argumentative and more in each other's faces, all the way to picking a fight.
Mm.
The autonomics will be getting more alkaline, which means that they will start being emotional. They will start oversharing, telling too much, losing control over their guard. They will be letting their guard down, and they will be emotionally open. And then if they overdo it, they fall asleep. That's the final stage of being too alkaline. You go to sleep.
If that's two separate categories, like if those are definites, I'm definitely autonomic then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which means that you will always be able to eat starchy things to calm yourself down and put yourself to sleep. So what happens is this: the optimal range for the body fluids is between 7.35 and 7.4, thereabouts, which everybody calls slightly alkaline. 7.0 is neutral, 7.35 is mildly alkaline. If you do it by voltage, it's negative 25 millivolt. That's the desired balance point.
So the same as the blood. So you're saying it should be the same as the blood, because that's the blood ideal pH.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And your interstitial fluids should try and approximate that, come close to that.
Okay.
And if you overdo it, you will be a depressed person. And if you stay like that for a good while, you will also facilitate, for example, cancers of the fluids, like, what is it called? Geez, my memory is not. Blood cancer, leukemia.
Oh, leukemia. Yeah.
Or
got the-
lymphatic cancer, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Those types of cancers are illnesses of being over alkaline. Now, the cancers of being overly acidic are the closed tumors cancers, like breast cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer.
I'm wondering if the next phase of the conversation is there a cause of metabolic dysfunction that is the same in both of the two categories that you've mentioned, that if you fix that cause of metabolic dysfunction, you get an improved pH in both cases, following the metabolic typing you're talking about still. Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, naturally you have some people who are kind of stable and other people are not. So some are very easily knocked out of balance. Like if I try to balance this on one point, it's going to be falling over. You know, it's sort of like me trying to stand on one foot with my eyes closed. You push me over easy. As opposed to if I were going to assume the sumo stance, feet wide apart, center of gravity down, I'll be really difficult to knock over. And so we have some people that are very quickly pushed from one side to the other. And you have folks that are in what's used to be known as manic depressive. Depression is the over alkalinity, and manic, as in like no breaks, is over acidity. And so you can have people swinging within hours just after one meal, and you think that they are mentally ill, and they're just simply putting meals together incorrectly.
Wow.
That's really
Now,
interesting.
we do have a supplement on the website. It's called Neuro C3, and it's a supplement designed to try and stabilize the brain. Like it's aminos, vitamins, and minerals put together in such way that it gives you a basis that will widen the base so that you're not so unstable.
Yeah, so we have especially minerals in MasterPeace and Master Store, and we're cleaning up things that inhibit proper mineral function or take the place of minerals like these heavy metals.
Yeah.
So minerals seem to be at the root of a lot of things. So can you kind of bridge from the world of poison and minerals to metabolic dysfunction? I mean, that would be a huge
Yeah.
topic.
Well, so for example, one pair is calcium, magnesium. They control the balance of the autonomic nervous system. Calcium pushes you into the sympathetic, magnesium into the parasympathetic. In other words, magnesium will relax you and lower your blood pressure. Calcium will stimulate you and increase your blood pressure. So if your blood pressure is too high, you probably need magnesium. If it's too low, you probably need calcium.
Mm.
And then there's this horrible thing, voltage-gated calcium channel, which is opened by EMF, by the 4G and 5G stuff. And that is the flooding of cells by calcium, by triggering that mechanism that the cell has. It's sort of like somebody's flushing your toilet for you all the time. So you overflow. Well, you're overflowing into anxiety because calcium is the mineral of pushing you into nervousness, fear, and just unsettled, unable to sleep, as an example.
I want to corroborate what you just said about magnesium and calcium, because that's exactly what happens to me. I have low blood pressure, sometimes dangerously low. It's been a while, but I can corroborate what you just said. If I use a picometer size calcium liquid, and when I do that, I have less dizziness upon standing. Like I never really exactly put those together, but you actually just hit exactly what one of the things calcium does for me. So that's very interesting.
Right.
Mm.
Indeed. And so, for example, fast oxidizer needs way more calcium than others. Slow oxidizer needs way more copper than others. I have a whole binder behind me with all the different rules that I could start reading. Certain amino acids, certain vitamins, certain minerals in different ratios. You know,
Yeah.
like one type needs more vitamin B3 and 6. Oh, parasympathetic needs niacinamide rather than niacin. The people like fast oxidizer needs vitamin B5 in much larger dose than others, whereas the slow oxidizer needs by B6, you know, like stuff like that. So if you push the person that wakes up already alkaline with foods that makes him more alkaline, he'll live in depression. Just pull over the cover, and I'm not getting up today. Life is too hard. I don't want to deal with the world.
Mm.
So this is not directly related to MasterPeace or zeolite as such, but what it's related to is just having the basics figured out. You know, it's like steering a car, right? You steer too hard left, you're in the left ditch. You steer too hard right, you're in the right ditch. You need to kind of keep it on the road, regardless of how the road twists, right?
Yeah, homeostasis your body should have. It should be really resilient. And what we're having is a lot of people that aren't. And so this is an example of using tools to help the body reach homeostasis instead of saying that you have a disease, you have high blood pressure, let's say, and get on high blood pressure medications that force it down. You've just given us just at least one idea.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of that. So, for example, doctors will use a calcium channel beta blocker.
Yeah.
That's sort of like putting a brake under your gas pedal so you can't push it down. Well, the natural antidote to that is magnesium. All they had to do is give you a suggestion that you take maybe 700 or 800 milligrams of magnesium a day, and you'd be fine in that. Well, Nikki's different. She needs to be actually pushed. She actually needs stimulation. She's already too calm.
Yeah.
Right?
Usually, not always.
Nah.
Depends on the situation. But yes, I'm teasing you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I need. Yeah. And
And,
I don't,
and your natural way to get out of too calm is to have a nice piece of steak, right?
say it again?
The natural way for you to not be too dopey is to eat something that's either protein or fat.
I'm gonna have to watch for that. I haven't had that paradigm
Well,
of that.
okay, I'll say it differently. If you gorge yourself on a birthday cake, you'll fall asleep.
I will fall asleep.
Yeah.
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 That's easier. Yeah. Yeah, I do great with the higher fat, high protein stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Within reason. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the point is this, there's this other part to what we investigate, and that's called endocrine dominance. We have 4 major choices, and that's adrenal, thyroid, pituitary, or gonad, as in testes in men or ovaries in women. And depending on which dominance you have, you will have completely different response how you gain or lose weight.
I
A
believe that.
thyroid type, which myself, I'm a thyroid type. Matt is likely a thyroid type. I would expect Nikki to be a thyroid type. Will get slimmer on fats and gain weight on starches.
Yes.
So keto diet is the slim diet. The beer and bread diet, beer gut all the way. Now, the adrenal types, I don't see people's pictures, so I can't point to them, but the adrenal types are usually built like linebackers, square, wide, thick. The wrist is twice the size of mine, and the calf is like so instead of like so. That's the adrenal types, and they gain weight on fat and lose weight on salad. So if you do it wrong, the same diet will make one person skinny and the other person fat.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah.
whatever. The gonadal dominant in women, they like hot food, stimulating food like Tabasco, hot, and that stimulates the ovaries to produce more estrogen, and they end up accentuating the secondary feminine characteristics. Their hips go out a lot. So a good example would be Jennifer Lopez, who's size 2 from waist up and size 6 from waist down kind of thing, where you have this imbalance. And anyway, so for them, the weight loss program would be, well, you're going to have to trim back on the hotness of your food. And anyway, so that's enough to say on that. Like there are issues with the diet, and I just wanted to bring it in that in my world, we actually understand how people gain weight and how people lose weight, and we can help them with it. And for some people, it's easy because they're matched type with their dominance, right? Like for Nikki, it's easy. She'll be a skinny person who gets things done. If she were flipped, she would end up being a fat, unhappy person. It's just some of us get the lottery in such a way that, like, I am on the wrong side of the lottery. My personality says I'll get skinny on fats, but I'll get absolutely what's the word? Anxiety riddled if I continue to do that. So I have to very carefully balance the carbs versus fats, because if I do it one way, I gain too much weight. If I do it the other way, I become mentally ill.
These differences that you talk about, we all know that they exist in some sense. And what you're doing really is providing more of the detailed background, which I appreciate, on why some of these things might happen with coaching clients. I see it all the time. That's why it's like you'll even see with work that I do, there's no one diet for everyone, just keto or just, I've known that for years, and it's providing some real, and there's psychological reasons for that too, but you're providing some real objective.
Yeah, there's an external reason for all of this. And so this urine testing business, well, urine is showing you what your body is getting rid of. So if you are at 7 point something, then you have already reached a very good balance. You don't need to push more alkalinity because you're already there. If you keep pushing harder, you will probably end up feeling depressed.
Mhm. So it does seem like it could be a gauge then. If it's within a certain range, then it's at least a gauge as to what's
Yeah.
happening officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be somewhere between 6.8 and 7.2. It's close enough, good enough. Ta-da. If you are at 5 point something, yeah, definitely fire on the roof, you know.
Well-
Where would, for Martin, where would you put the majority of people with hypothyroidism? I believe in
I
the
would
metabolic
expect
type.
them, well, let me describe. The typical thyroid person is slender limbs, not very high volume on wrists and ankles, reasonably trim. All tall people, like basketball players and volleyball players, are very likely thyroid types, but you don't have to be tall to be a thyroid. Your temptation food, the stuff that you really want to eat after dinner, should be starchy. If you're that, then you're thyroid dominant, which also means that you need to have about 20 times the dose of iodine than the adrenal type.
That's me.
Most thyroid types grew up on seashores. It's the model from the coastals, like Swedish people, coastal fishermen. A lot of British Isles and all of that are that. So anyway, they are genetically by selection adapted to having a much higher iodine intake than others. So yeah, good on. So they need to be, yeah, and you are definitely, I can tell you that you are a thyroid type and you
Oh,
should
yeah.
definitely not hold back.
Yeah. It's been going really great to use Lugol's. I got Portuguese ancestry, and I grew up next to the beach myself.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. Classic, right? Think about African Americans. Most of them were taken from tropical coastal areas. And then they get sent to Mississippi and fed chicken and grits. Bad idea.
Hmm.
No wonder a lot of them end up being just horizontally extended.
Hi, Martin. Thank you. So I had thyroid cancer 10 years ago, and I made the mistake of allowing them to remove my thyroid gland.
Yeah.
And I've declined any and all treatment. I am cancer-free and have been ever since.
Yeah.
And I don't take any pharmaceuticals except for Synthroid. So I declined everything else. And I'm looking for something for somebody without an actual thyroid gland anymore that can replace that Synthroid in a more natural way. And if you have any suggestions, I would be very grateful for that.
Well, the natural way would be that you will have a natural glandular, right? Like you need to be actually ingesting pieces of thyroid glands all the time. Now that you
So
don't have your own,
desiccated.
yeah, desiccated thyroids, yeah, like that.
Do you have one that
No,
you like, a beef or a pork?
no. Yeah, I mean, probably I would go with beef more than anything.
Beef. Okay,
But yeah, yeah.
thank you.
Unfortunately, this is the situation you have, and yeah, once we have some parts missing, we just have to live with the limitation that it gives us.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. You know what's interesting, just for those of you who still have your body parts intact, deficiency of iodine creates fibrocystic breast problem, leads to fibrosis in the uterus, leads to fibrosis in the prostate. So it's both ladies and men. And what are they called? Well, in general, as soon as you start pushing iodine, people's periods become uneventful. They just all of a sudden become no big deal. And especially the bloating, the PMSing, and a lot of that, that is really oftentimes tied to there not being enough iodine in circulation. So
I really wish I had known that because, and of course, the medical industry doesn't tell you that.
no,
But you're right, I did have huge issues with fibroids after my surgery. Even before, but in particular
yeah, it takes
after.
off. Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, like you have my sympathy because it's ugly. It's hard to work with it, right? Because now you have difficulty with temperature regulation, with weight regulation, with sweating or not sweating regulation. I mean, there's so much going on that the
Mhm.
thyroid's involved in, and when you don't have the natural controls, it's difficult to manage.
Mhm.
I mean, similar thing happens to people who lose their gallbladders. They also get difficult this time with eating, right? But
Well, they did want to take my gallbladder, and I said no to that.
yeah. Yeah, most
Thank you.
gallbladders are lost because of wheat intolerance. Most people who should not have inflammatory food end up with just too many gallstones, and then it piles up, creates a traffic jam, and then they say, well, the only way to get rid of the traffic jam is to rip it all out. Of course, there is a natural way, right? Hulda Clark writes it up really well. It's that not flush, gallbladder flush, right? I don't know. Do you guys want to hear about that here or not really?
Yeah, we do talk about it. I wrote an
Yeah.
article actually on our website about it, and
Yeah.
yeah, most of us are familiar, but go ahead and give us your take
Well,
on
I
it.
mean, the short version is that you essentially create a panic situation for the gallbladder by drinking a cup of olive oil. But before you do that, you prepare for that. So you start with some magnesium, you flush out your digestive system, and you also take the magnesium so that the sphincter that's holding the closing to the gallbladder is about the size of your two fingers like this, and there's a tiny sphincter at the end, and the magnesium helps it to open. I mean, it's a whole lot like giving birth, really. You are pushing stuff that's too big for the opening through, and it has to go through. So anyway, you freak out the gallbladder by pushing a large amount of oil, and you flavor that with lemon or grapefruit juice to make it more palatable. And when you hit that, all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, everybody out.
Because it's trying to push bile out, by the way, if anyone
And
doesn't
so
know.
whatever's in the gallbladder now, whether it's gravel or chunks or whatever, it just goes. Now, it does not necessarily happen on the first one. I've had people tell me that the first one was gravel, second one, nothing happened, and third one, fingertip sized chunks came out on the third one. So go figure.
Yeah,
So
they're all-
that's the story of the gallbladder. You get rid of these things, and then things flow, and the inflammation recedes, and you no longer have the reason for the operation. With the thyroid, I don't know for sure, but I speculate that these nodules are not necessarily cancer. They're just the body trying to create these centers of stress where it tries to defend itself somehow. And it might be that if we had a chance to put you on hero dose of iodine for some time, that situation might have resolved. Do continue taking iodine because it's needed throughout the body.
Okay.
It's, yes, you need to take the synthetic thyroid hormone, but you also should be taking iodine.
So could I replace my Synthroid with the desiccated?
Well, you need to play with it. You need to test.
Okay.
You can try, okay, I'll take more of this. If you start getting over, hyperthyroid symptoms of feeling driven and short-tempered and hot and whatever, then you say, okay, I'm overdoing it. Which of these two am I going to take less of?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because they both will push. So you can start maybe pulling back on the synthetic and more on the natural. But you're dependent. There's just no getting away from that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Matt.
Matthew wanted to say something.
Yeah, I have my hand raised on behalf of our local colonic master, Agent Fu, otherwise known as Safina. She's wondering about Alzheimer's. And I mean, I sure think we have something going at HCS when it comes to neurodegenerative disease.
Oh, we have big stuff going when it comes to that. Yes.
So I mean, she didn't ask about HCS in relationship to it. She just wants your take on Alzheimer's, but I'm just kind of pushing HCS a little bit.
No, let's do that. Okay, so let's actually say it. The main reason why we're here is when you become toxic with industrial toxins, nothing will work right. You can't get to health without detoxing yourself. Like that's the sort of like the baseline. Like if you are up here, you're already up to here, and then you take the next stressy thing, and you're up to here, you no longer can talk, and then you get up to here and you no longer can breathe, and then you start hopping up and down, and your hopping is only this tall, and then you're drowning. And this is the rising level. So if we're starting at here, we get into trouble really quickly. We need to push it down. And the push it down is you detox the trigger foods. It's called blocking factors. What is blocking the natural expression of your homeostatic system to maintain health? And industrial toxins are the worst of it. So that's why HCS is doing so great, because it is hauling away tons of stuff that pushes your resilience capacity away, and you will gain it back by taking the HCS. I mean, it's not the only zeolite in the market, but it's super effective because of the combination with the marine plankton. I mean, it's really an awesome product in its own right.
I like what you said there about the resilience. So when the body is over toxified, and really any, over toxified just means that I love the way you just said that the resilience is so low. So everything bothers you now. The things that your body should be able to handle, no longer your body can't handle it. So by getting rid of that stuff as best you can, and it's a long game, guys. It's not a short game. It's a long game.
Okay, so let me just circle back to ALZ and related. So when you have toxic metals on board, your body is producing fungus. It's trying to rot away the toxicity. So you automatically have screwed up intestinal terrain. And you're always slanted toward high candida and that sort of stuff. And so you're struggling with absorbing foods correctly because your gut is already leaky. And when you have a breach of the gut barrier, you also will end up with the breach of the blood-brain barrier. So in clear terms, leaky gut, leaky brain.
I actually know a thing about that. There's a PGP and CYP 450, and they're basically doing the same thing to form the blood-brain barrier, but one is in the gut and one is in the brain.
Yes.
I just know about that. Sorry.
No, that's great. Awesome. Yeah, there's all these technical things, papers, right? The PhDs of this world are majoring in minor things. They will research all the tiny little minutiae and figure out the thing without actually explaining to you, well, you would get rid of all of that if you could just detoxify the heavy metals out of your body. Right? They will research the heck out of it and not teach you anything. Just tell you science about stuff without having any use for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so leaky gut, leaky brain, and toxicity, right? And so when your body has toxic metals in it, it sequesters it. It hides it away, puts it in fat, cartilage, and bone. So now there's a natural rhythm, tide really, of deposition and release of minerals out of the bone. Both calcium and magnesium are stored and released, stored and released. Cholecalciferol is that's the vitamin D3, right?
Yes.
That's the one that moves calcium in and out of the bone. It's the one that helps you manage the pH balance in the body. It's the one that helps you manage the resilience toward cancer and stuff. Well, it's okay. Deposit calcium, it only happens when you are at the right pH. And it doesn't happen if you're without magnesium. So there's a whole bunch of bits that need to come together. So as you age and your pH balance is becoming more challenged, you will now pull minerals out of your bone into the body fluid to buffer it. The body will defend the pH of the blood at the cost of everything else. So you're going to stay at 7.35 in the blood, but your other fluids, the interstitial fluids, are now going haywire. They're getting more and more acidic. And with that, that means that the bone has to buffer that, right? So that means you will have osteoporosis. And as you release that, you also are releasing the toxins that you stored. So all of the mercury, lead, cadmium, God knows what else, is going back into circulation, and it causes neurological problems. I remember when I was really toxic, I was incontinent. I could not tell whether I was urinating or not. I just did not have that sensation. I mean, I would, never mind. It's too graphic. But anyway, so
Well, with the osteoporosis, this being a general, if I'm hearing you right, a general problem with overall toxicity, because of bones trying to fix that problem. And maybe
yeah. Osteoporosis is an illness of a person who's not balancing their internal pH well enough, and therefore the calcium is not getting into the bone. I mean, there's a secondary issue, which is not enough exercise, not enough movement. You need to be stressing the muscle attachments against every piece of the bone. Otherwise, there's no need for the strength, right?
Right,
Yes.
I've heard of osteoporosis mitigation devices that put pressure on the bone from both sides. So it's not all chemical. I get that, and the physical is chemical as well.
Yeah,
So
there's a chemical reason.
zeolite donates orthosilicic acid big time.
Yeah,
that is not just any old silica too. That's like really good silica. So
Matt, you just
how does that work with osteoporosis? Because
yeah, you
silica
hit a
is
really
massive.
interesting point.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Which is this. There's a research done by Louis Kervran in France in 1880, I think. He was studying chickens, and he would restrict their diet. Chicken needs calcium carbonate to make the eggshell. So he would eliminate all calcium from the chicken's diet, and chicken continues to lay eggs. Where did that come from? Only when he eliminated silica from the chicken's diet, the chicken stopped laying eggs because could no longer form eggshell. So if you look up Louis Kervran, Kervran, you can look him up on Life Enthusiast website. There's an entire article discussing Kervran's equations, where it's called protonization. Inside of a human body, you can change one element to another, which is only happening in stars. We do that with enzymes.
Well, let me just let anyone else. Does anyone have any questions thus far or comments? And I've been kind of looking at the chat a little bit.
Yeah, I see root canals.
Yeah, we're talking about biological dentistry. There is other substances that can be replaced, by the way, Patty, rather than having an amalgam. I've had all that work done decades ago. They're called the biological dentists. There's even one in Mexico I go see now, the holistic care dentistry there. And they follow the Hal Huggins approach. That's what you want to look for, is someone who's following the Hal Huggins protocols. That's the gold standard for biological dentistry. And you definitely want your mercury fillings out. You want all your amalgams out. You don't want root canals. So you got to lose those teeth. It's better to lose a tooth than to have a root canal.
This is the hard part, right? You already have root canals. Now what you do?
Say again?
I say, now that you already have root canals and you just learned all this, now what you do?
Yeah. Well, what are the options? Do you know what the options are, Mark? Because I've never had a root canal. If I had one, I would probably research the hell out of it and figure out what to do. But it's
Well,
never,
the only reasonable thing to do is to have it out,
yeah.
which is hard, especially if it's somewhere in the visible part. And then you need to deal with probably a very expensive situation where you're doing posts, and
Wouldn't do post.
titanium dioxide ain't great. Zirconium is expensive.
Yeah.
Yep, it's $6,000 for a single tooth. It's not funny.
I had a situation where I had an infection and it's a tooth right back here. The second, well, I had my wisdom tooth out, but so it's the third. And the dentist was not very happy with me when I wanted her just to pull it. And of course, they try to talk you into a root canal. And I've got 5 root canals in my mouth. And I said, there's dentistry is the only uh, profession that leaves dead things in your body. She didn't like that much.
Yeah, if you
So-
forgot a sponge in the belly cavity while doing an operation, it would be a major issue.
Yeah. So I had to pull
There's-
it too, and I wouldn't do any posts or anything like that either. So I have what they call a flipper. I have a tooth that, and I didn't want any bridge or either because they'll wreck the 2 teeth that are next to it. And so I went to Mexico. I went to Tijuana, the top-notch place, and I got a little removable one, and it flips in and out. It's called a flipper. So I mean, you're stuck by that point when you've got infections, and that will make you take better care of your teeth. Let me tell you. Or
Yes. Well, yeah, good that you've learned, and you're now working it, right?
working it. What do you mean?
You're taking care of your oral.
Better I am, and part of the reason was that I didn't like to go to doctors at all, and I didn't go to the dentist, and I probably just should have had x-rays once in a while, and I let it go too long. And so yeah, I'm oil pulling now, and I'm doing, and I knew all this, and it's just hard to keep up with everything. And so it's just one of those things. But your teeth, you gotta take care of your teeth, your oral health, because you don't want to lose a tooth, especially if it's going to be in the front or something. You just don't. That's just not a good situation. Patty, please.
So I want to ask a question. I have a 35-year-old adult daughter that lives with me since my husband passed away 2 years ago. But she was labeled as a child ADHD with a little bit of deficiency. The MasterPeace has really helped with some clarity and a lot of things. And even one of her menstrual cycles, I could swear, both of us could swear she was detoxing heavy metals because of the odor. But she has, in different parts of her body, had calcifications form. On the 3rd bone in, okay, I forget which ear it is, because she's had ear issues since an infancy, actually, because she needed myringotomies. So anyways, she has calcification on the 3rd bone. I think it's in the right ear. She's had calcification, well, like fibrous dysplasia. So directly behind her right eye, to her ear, right ear, under her brain. And about 60% of that was removed surgically. And then she also had some up above the roof of her mouth and then a wee bit on the side of her neck. So that being said, with that information that I've given you, is there something, is it too much calcium?
Well, she's probably a bit out of balance. She probably would benefit with topical magnesium that you would rub on whatever.
Yep.
Like on Life Enthusiast, we tell people we tell the following thing. Magnesium will cause a bowel flush when you take it at therapeutic doses because it activates the peristalsis, right? So if you take a hit of magnesium, you will just, everything goes through you like through a duck.
Right.
So if you take it topically, you can take a much higher dose without triggering the gut response. So we
Okay.
sell this thing that's called magnesium oil, and I also have a form that's called topically everything, which is this magnesium with both kelp and alfalfa soaked into it. So the minerals of the sea, minerals of the land into the thing. It's called topically everything. It's works really well.
Okay.
So that's I would be looking toward magnesium on the situation. I'm impressed with that observation with the detoxing and the menstrual flow after the zeolite. I mean, the main thing with children with ADD is that their microbiome got somehow screwed up early on, and it never got right.
Yeah, probably. And we've got she's on Master Restore as well.
Was she born C-section or regular?
No, regular,
Regular. Okay.
very rapid birth process.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, stuff happens, right? Like you get a ear infection, they give you antibiotics, and from that moment forward, your entire development is altered.
She just getting over a perforated eardrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I were starting over, I would be going to Calgary, and I would be looking for a company called Genki Foods. We sell their products in the US, but you can buy them locally.
How do you-
Genki, G-A, no, G-E, Genki. He's in
Okay.
He's in Cochrane, you'll find it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, we sell their product. It's an awesome thing. It's a it's a probiotic made out of sprouts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
Thank you.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, feed it to her. That's going to really reset the gut back to better. Humic acid, humus,
Yeah.
humic acid, the dirt holds the terrain for the microbiome in better shape.
Okay,
Um,
Matt Senna has just put in,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
nope, go ahead. You're saying it.
So yeah, so he put in the chat if anyone's interested in one of the interviews we did with Martin, Matthew and I, and his website, Martin's website. If you look on the page, I think with MasterPeace, he has another video of us there, different one perhaps.
Yeah, you can. There's a podcast directory at Life Enthusiast, which you will find. I mean, I have published that same podcast with Matt and Nikki on our side too.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah, that was your edit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have two interviews with Martin on our Rumble.
Yeah.
And Rumble is where we're able to successfully
Yeah,
keep
where we can
videos at the
really-
moment.
Yeah, really tell. Yeah.
And we have that testimonial of you on there, and it's just one of the
Yeah.
best testimonials we've gotten. And you talk about muscle testing, the formula,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people would be interested in that. Frankly, could you just kind of
Okay.
talk about that a little bit?
Yep. I have my team, people that work with me. We keep checking on each other. How's Martin's level of consciousness, right? So we just keep. I don't check mine; they check mine. And so 10 days after I started using MasterPeace, they came with, Martin, your consciousness level jumped up a lot.
They
Right.
didn't know necessarily what you had done differently.
No, they did not know that I started taking MasterPeace. And I wasn't expecting anything, but it's just, when you stay permanently above 550, that's fantastic. That's like you are no longer assailable with fear.
You've noticed a difference. You said you zoomed up in the level of
Yeah.
your conscious.
Yeah, less. Well, as I don't know where you are, right? I could ask, but I don't want to go public and reveal you just without your permission. And so let's just say that you're somewhere between fear and courage. Well, when you get into courage, you stop acting out of fear. And then when you rise out of courage into truth, you start actually not lying to yourself and to others. I mean, you may still withhold some hurtful statements, but you will not fabricate just for the sake of it. You know, your character will rise.
I think I'm ready to go try my product.
Yeah, have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, you won't lose your social graces. Don't be afraid. But you may find yourself just a little more firmly planted in the universe, in the evolution of
Is
your
this
full of your full potential. Yeah.
Is this a bottle that's recommended? I just so little I know. Is it every when it's out you reorder kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long game if you can do it. If you it's priced accordingly so that most people can't afford it. So it's meant to be taken to be used ongoing because we've got layers and layers and layers of this, toxicity in us, and also it keeps coming in. So it's not like it's a detox like a liver flush where you do it for, the prep and the liver flush is a week if you do the old style. It's not like it's a cleanse that you just do. Yeah. But that's better than nothing if that's for some reason what you want to do or all you can do for some reason, then yeah, it's better than nothing. I mean, by our clinical studies, the preliminary one we did, the pilot study, showed that just in 30 days, 34 to be exact, the levels went quite a bit on what we tested. So we know that it can do that. How long it would take for the blood to show up that those levels again, we don't know. But ongoing testing is being done in all kinds of ways. So
I'll say one more thing.
yes.
We at Life Enthusiast sell product called Ormus, ORMUS.
Yeah.
For those of you who are on the path to raising your consciousness. When I was young in the 1980s and 90s, we used to call it the ascension process. We used to talk about evolving spiritually toward being on the level with the angels. It's hard to attain, but at least getting close to it. Anyway, Ormus is the material that facilitates the interaction between spirituality or the consciousness with the physical expression. And so when you have more of that material in your body, you will manifest your soul's desires much more effectively. Remember, the Christians have it as the Son, the Father, and the Spirit, right? Well, in that sense, I have a body that would be the Son, I have the consciousness that would be the Father, and I have the soul that would be the Spirit, right? Like it's if you try and step it up in physical sense, the cab driver drives the cab, but the passenger tells him where he wants him to go.
Nikki, I know you're trying to wrap up, but this just opened another can of worms in the best way. Can we quickly spend some time on Ormus?
I was going to ask him that a half an hour ago, in case we had an opening in a discussion. Yeah, we can. I mean, I'm not going to say no, but
Well, I don't want to abuse people either, right? You can have me another time. This is a perfect cliffhanger. You want to hear Martin talk about Ormus?
I guess I have a question from a human consciousness point of view that I'd love you to mull over, and I'm not forcing you to answer it right now. Marine plasma isn't necessarily Ormus, but it's more than halfway there. And there seems to be a synergy with, and I'm not even sure that statement is correct. So I'd like your appraisal of that statement.
Okay.
And then secondly, it would be that mixing it with the nanozeolite certainly is proven in the literature to improve the binding capacity and intelligence of the zeolite in terms of binding to things that are negatively charged, like fluoride. A negatively charged zeolite, well, that's in the literature, but you have to add minerals to the zeolite. Then it can pick up fluoride. So we have a negative attracting a negative, Well, that's quite intelligent, you know, that it's able to pick up a negative poison, but it's only able to do this in the context of adding healthy minerals like calcium and such. You know, normal minerals, non-toxic. This is in a couple different studies. There's all kinds of modified clinoptilolite studies that improve adsorption, which always includes adding minerals, you know, certainly none as superior as the marine plasma too. So, you know, the Ormus conversation has to do with spin and processing, and I'm not, you know, we certainly put it through some water structuring processes. And it's certainly vibrating quite high, MasterPeace. So given the combination with the zeolite, which seems to be incredibly synergistic, combined with the water structuring, can we make this superior marine plasma into something akin to Ormus?
Yeah, okay. I don't know much about this mineral loading of zeolite to be able to bind negative to negative, so I'm going to leave that alone. As far as the marine plasma goes, it goes like this. Ormus comes from the down underground. I think volcanic, way down center of the planet, comes out on volcanic emissions, and through erosion gets put into creeks and rivers and into the oceans. And so there's plenty of it in the ocean water, dissolved. And all the life, all the living things are after it. They all want it. Carrots want it, and shrimp want it, and plankton want it. And so I speculate that when the ocean bloom kicks up, it may be kicking up because the weather and the ocean currents are just at such a state that the heavier Ormus is welling up from the depths toward the surface at the right time when the sun is just warm enough, and all of a sudden we have this bloom. And the little shrimp, or whatever they're called, the little, well, phytoplankton and zooplankton, right? Both of them are onto it, and they want it, and they put it into their own bodies. So when you send me your plasma, it's loaded with Ormus. When I first tasted it, it was unmistakable heavy Ormus.
Well, I'm so glad I asked. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Martin, for coming. Time is very valuable, and we appreciate your time. And it's something that is always a gift when you give it, because it's finite, right?
Yeah, I hope I didn't bore people with getting into technical bits.
You bored anybody? No, no.
I would like to just say something about Life Enthusiast.
Yes, please.
We offer health coach service. We're kind of unique. We have a real customer service. There are competent people behind me or with me. I'm not the only person there. We have real support. We have chat support and phone support. And that's really not common. Like, this is no Amazon. This is actual customer service at Life Enthusiast. So take note.
Thank you for that. All right, everybody, that will close out today's New Health Paradigm call. Hope to see all of you, as many as you can, on next week. And it's probably going to be Saturday, but we will get it worked out. And the next town hall will be, usually it's the second week it's going on of every month. So we'll get the calendar out as soon as we can. All righty. Thank you, Matt Senna, for all your moderation and all your support. I appreciate that. And everybody.
Oh gosh, it's such an honor. You know, thanks for allowing me to speak, and thanks, Martin, and thanks, Nikki.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks for another great call, guys.
Thank you, Olga.